Welcome to Next Step Advanced Sketching Techniques. Today, students, we're going to learn how to sketch out a photorealistic music piano scene. All right, let's get started. Now, the first thing we're going to sketch is the piano. The piano start by making a long, skinny square. Squares have two equal sides. And notice we're gonna skip the piano keys. We're gonna come right back to that. Make sure your lines are even, the spacing. And pianos have two legs to sit on, very similar to people, very similar to you and I, very similar to the kangaroo. Now let's do the keys. So we're gonna do a series of pentagons where the left and the respective right edges of each overlap with each other. Make sure all your keys are the same size. Now, pianos have black keys, which are interspersed ever so often. And these black keys are ones you play when you want to play more of the classical music. These are the notes, the more advanced notes. So if you're interested in playing the classics, you need to learn the black keys. Piano, interesting fact, a piano is based on the electronic keyboard. Piano was developed and invented using the electronic keyboard as a template, but the piano has a less of a carbon footprint, so these days especially, it's kind of preferred. The only thing about a piano is it can be kind of loud. All right, now we're going to just draw some edges because this did take place. The scene from my memory took place in a bedroom, this scene that I'm sharing with you today. All right, next we're going to draw Grandma. And as we've talked about in previous drawings, Grandma liked to walk around in a ghost costume, in a ghost outfit. That was just her thing. And we all accepted that. She had really long hair. When she wasn't wearing her ghost costume, she would wear her hair out in front over her face whenever she was interacting with you or cooking or anything. So you couldn't even really see her eyes. If you weren't used to that, especially if I had a friend spending the night with or without the ghost costume, it could be a little off-putting at first, but everybody got used to Grandma eventually. Now you'll notice that she hairsprayed her hair. She had some type of really strong hairspray, and all her hair would just shoot out the top. But she could see. She cut out a piece and then stitched in some mesh, so we could... Apologies, my friends, I had to readjust my camera here. But as I was saying, we couldn't see Grandma's eyes, nor could we see her mouth. And Grandma had these flabby skinned legs, but she had the most beautiful high heel shoes, I think, in the whole wide world. I still have them. And I've tried them on. They're a little too small for me, but hey, that's all right. And a lot of times she would kind of keep her hands inside so we can just kind of see the impression. All right, let's move on. Now, Grandma did wear gloves, or mittens, and she had long arms, so sometimes you could see the mittens hanging out below her ghost costume. A long time ago, as we talked about in her previous sketch, she used to be very centric, but at some point she lost that ability, and a lot of people then started calling her eccentric. All right, so all pianos are going to have what's called a piano bench. Bench, B-E-N-C-H, is just another way to describe something you sit on as you bang out some tunes. And then we're going to draw myself. And boy, as I've said, I Every follicle was in place on my head. I was a big believer in a sharp haircut. Now remember, your thumb is your smallest digit. Digit, D-I-G-I-D, is just another way to describe your fingers and toes. So here I am, sitting on the bench. Now, one thing I like to stress to my students is we can't draw music. We can't draw sound, but we can draw notes and we can draw music lines. Music lines are similar to action lines, except they have kind of a curved shape going out. And you can see how, and then maybe some action lines where I'm banging on the piano. Now, this particular night, I was kind of a rebel. Grandma's friend did not like for me to play the piano while he was playing his instruments, the pots and pans, because they tended to overshadow what he was playing. So a lot of times, or no, all of the time, except for this night, I would mock play, pretend play, while he banged his famous beats out like a rock star. So we'll go ahead and draw Grandma's friend now. I say friend, but he was really family. And Grandma's friend really liked to shave his hair, except for the back. And he pretty much needed to shave every day. He could really grow that facial hair, something I was unable to do, unfortunately. And he had quite a belly on him. He liked to drink beer, and he never wore a shirt on the inside. That is something he would not. And he had hair around his belly button, and he also had a nipple. Well, he had two nipples, like everybody does, right? Correct? Correct. So where we're starting to draw tonight is right after my grandmother's friend, had been playing, and he would have a circle of pots and pans on the floor, arranged just so. Grandmother wouldn't say much. She would just kind of watch. He would have them set up, little pots, big pots, and he would use a hammer to play the music, to bang out the percussion sounds. Grandma's friend really enjoyed wearing cut-off jean shorts. That was his hairy leg. That was his musical instrument of choice. Running out of room there. But this is a pretty darn accurate depiction of what he looked like. All right, we'll just add some more detail. Over here, there was well, it wasn't a picture on the wall. What it was a pretend or fake or fox, F-A-U-X. It's just another word to describe something that's not real. It was a fake window, I guess, as a kind of an art statement. So I would pretend I was looking out of here and maybe on a magic cruise ship traveling to a far off Wild West or Captain Hook or Captain Sanchez. What interesting thing about the Wild West, actually Native Americans comprised about 99% of all cowboys. The other 1% were Germans. Now, actually, interestingly enough, that this middle part that you see in Windows was a little bit off center. I apologize. So it was more like this, more or less. Make sure we get our lines straight with our fake windows. All right, moving on. So here's me banging piano one night. Well, lo and behold, I I was being a rebel and playing Camptown Races, sing this song, Doodah, one of my favorite songs. Grandma seemed to be liking it. I inferred that from her silence, that she enjoyed it, and I thought I could see a little wiggling in her step. But one thing Grandpa or Grandma's friend normally didn't play with was a frying pan, and this probably should have been a kind of an alarm. Of course, I wasn't facing that way, so it would have been hard for me to pick up on that. Plus, the music was loud. Now we can't. Oh, I do remember this specifically. This particular night, I had my spot mop. This was my favorite spot mop, resting here on the piano. I had just finished a spot mop regimen or sequence, and I was relaxed and just wanting to play some music, wanting to shine, as the floor shined after I spot mopped. Now we can't draw the passage of time, unfortunately, but what we can draw is later in the night. So we're going to draw arrows to represent this frying pan as it moved across the room that night, and it ended up about more or less right here, right near the back of my head. Okay, well, let's also add a picture over here. I remember on this wall was a picture of Grandma when she was just a little thing, a little baby. And she had a big old passy in her mouth and wild baby hair in this picture. And her grandpa or grandfather or my grandfather, her father, was also in this picture, and he was holding her. I do remember this picture very specifically. All right, moving on. So we can't draw impact lines or similar to action lines, but we can draw like when two objects interact, when there's a like a hitting, but we can draw impact lines, which are very similar to action lines, but a little bit darker. So this was step 1 of the frying pan, and this was step 2. You can also do Roman numerals, step 1 and step 2. Now for me, step 2 here would have been step 1, and step 2 for me, when I moved across after this happened, you could make the argument cause and effect. I ended up right about in this region, laying on the floor and resting, kind of recovering, trying to regaining my wherewithal after the impact. Remember that the thumb is the smallest of the appendi. And there are my short shorts I would wear. And there was probably just a little mark right here based on impact. So the impact lines are over here. Well, what else can we draw? Well, Grandma had a nice medicine table right here. She had lots of potions and medicines and spices. Well, medicines and potions. And so I think I ended up laid on this floor for quite a while. I think Grandma didn't really react this night, which surprised me. But nonetheless, I learned my lesson. I never played that piano again when Grandma's friend was playing. But then they were nice enough to put down this towel to collect when nature called. I wasn't able to get up and go to my bedroom and lay on my pad to place the pad in my shorts. So so they were nice enough to, nature calling. I was able to do what I needed to do until I was able to get back up. All right, what else can we draw here? Well, we can draw Grandma's friend a little bit later, so we can do another one right here. And what's interesting about that night is they went back and continued to play. Well, Grandma listened. She loved to listen. And so Grandma's friend would like to just sit down, and he ended up sitting down again, and I could kind of hear this from where I was. I think he was pretty happy at this point. He got to play his music, and he loved playing with that hammer. Hammer, Hammer. And Grandma's friend could have been in a band, like a rock band, like Meatloaf or Bon Jovi. He had that kind of talent. He was able, and he had these cut-off jean shorts. Whoops. So he's kneeling down right here playing. All right, so now we're ready to grab our outline markers. Now, one thing I want to caution everybody is I noticed this outline marker. I didn't notice it the other day because I was on opioid pain medication, but my finger is better. Thank you, if you were wondering. So we're just going to outline a few things here, even less than we normally do, because it does tend to obscure some of the detail. If you're still interested in coming by for an in-house sketch opportunity, please message me with your actual physical address. Any other information you'd like to provide, just in the comments section. And if I choose you and maybe submit a piece of art, maybe that would be good. Here's the frying pan, and then we can do some boo-boo lines, if we'll say. Yeah, we all learn from our authority figures. Correct? Correct. It was good of my grandmother's friend not to let me play that night, because his music was so important to him. Who was I to overshadow that? All right, so we've sketched out a photorealistic music kind of family night scene. I think if you were to show this to anybody on the street, try it sometime. Walk up to somebody on the street and ask them, is this a photograph or is this a sketch? And I think they'd be hard pressed to tell the difference. All right, so we have me playing on the piano, rebelling against the authority that night. I wanted to play piano, and of course I ended up, well, I haven't played since then. Grandma's friend was playing on his pots and pans, and Grandma was just kind of watching things as she normally did. Well, if you were unable to obtain the eloquence, elegance, aesthetic sophistication that I have exhibited here today, please don't fret. Don't give up. Keep trying. It has taken me years and years and years to obtain this level of skill. So please keep trying. And as I always say, I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Thank you.